leave that there. Leave that there. We're brewing. Grab my cup. Cup. Yeah. Live. You don't care. There. I don't have my coffee yet, though. Isn't that dumb? Isn't that stupid? Hey, Steve, you can't have a coffee live without coffee, you idiot. Nah, it's brewing. I do have some in my big cup, but that's for later. So we're brewing 2 pots. I'm up to 2 pots of coffee. Thought I'd go on a better note today versus last night. This is what that ring light looks like without all the brightness thing. Isn't that cool? What it does, where's my other phone? What it does is it clips on your phone, so you can do selfies, and you're like, you know, it clips on there. You're like, hey, you know, you can do that. So start your morning with Gigi Allen. That dude had issues. I had a buddy of mine that before the YouTubes, he had the video of when like his last performance, which really wasn't much performance. He basically just got in a fight outside the show. I don't even think they played a note, and then he ran around New York City, went to a hotel, and that's when he died. I've read some interviews with Gigi Allen. They're pretty messed up. He was not a well individual. Reading some comments here. So, we're getting a later start today, because that's just what the bills or the Raycons say. Don't want to start my clock too early. Like I said, there's like 30 of us doing these loads every day, and they want to stagger the trucks so they're not overwhelmed. So, besides, I got to get dispatched, I think. I won't be surprised if the broker calls me here soon. They got this app called Freight Tracer. It's kind of annoying. It's not the best app out there, but what are you going to do? But anyways, let's do some shoutouts. Let's get my YouTubes on this phone and go from there. Oh, by the way, guys, you know, you're always talking about, here's a YouTuber I've never heard of before. Riding with Dave. This dude has over 239,000 views on this video.
De-stress with drug.
And he's got over 197,000 subscribers. And I'm not even subscribed. Never even heard of the guy, right? It's kind of interesting how our little circle, we kind of think that nothing exists outside of it. But I think I'm going to subscribe to him. There you go, Riding with Dave. I subscribe to you and click the bell. He seems to be doing the first perspective with the hat cam, which I think I'm going to start doing more of those. I know Thomas Wilson doesn't like that, but the world seems to like that. So my video's not up here yet. History. So we'll do some shout outs here in a second, if I can ever get to. Here, let's do this. Close on. And then we'll talk about, people want, there it is. There it is. There's the caveman trucker. Oh, that's the thumbnail. Trucker. Echo. What's been on my mind this morning? Well, we'll read. My mind is coffee. I'm waiting for the brew. I did fill up this cup, but that, again, that's for later. That's for later. You guys like my shirt? Isn't that cool? I'm promoting other people's companies because I don't have any of my own company swag except for the coffee cup. All right. Let's see. We've got, wow, you got some people in here. Okay, Daniel Adami, little Viking coach. Nick Brashears, Eric Vaquero, Jonathan Wheeler, Anthony Bressler. Did I see the light? I saw the light. Lee Lost Cause, what's up? Pale Rider TV. Salty Pirate, what's up? Haven't seen you in a minute. John Stroud, good morning. GNC Family Trucking, Alexander Rocker. Hey, Chucky, Daniel Adami sent me your new logo. That's pretty neat. I like that family shield kind of look, man. I've thought about that for a logo myself, but it's really good. I like that. Eddie Drotar, Alexander Rocker, what up? Had to start my morning off with Gigi Allen. Yep, we talked about that. Did he say Tupac's coffee? No. Let's see, we've got other trucker James Best. Eddie Dro. Okay, I already said. Hey, man, I'm being dumb. Scott, what's up? Pigtail. Charles Brandt, awesome. Let's see, everybody's saying hi to each other. Great Freight Sage Logic. I saw your video this morning. The solar video is about time. It says Big Rig Radio Network. Dave's not here. That's funny. There's a lot of people riding with Dave, it sounds like. Yes, Dave is... Look, it's all about analytics, okay? We're going to... Charles Brandt, thank you for the super chat sticker, the coffee. That's like my favorite sticker. The guy showing this big mug of coffee. I appreciate that. We need top of roof flare cam. I have two cameras mounts on the mirror here. I thought about putting one like on the hood of the truck. So, you want a wrench? That's a good idea. Let's see, Clyde, what's up? Twitch, you just hit the thumbs up. Thank you. You think they'll have some concerts this year, John Kirkpatrick? Yes, at least on the local level. See, once the states start opening up, it just depends on the liability, right? Artists are wanting to go out there and make money, and the entertainment industry is really hurting. Now, locally in Springfield, there's a show on the 1st, and it's a small metal show, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So they're gonna have to creep into it. A lot of the bands that were announcing like September, October tours have canceled them. So, but as far as like major band, major event type things, I don't think you're gonna see that for probably at least till next year. So. Charles, you dealing with something? Big Rig Radio Network, need to change my name to Pale Rider TV 2? Why? The original's always better than the sequel, Jeff. Come on. You see my day trading stocks? Okay, you're talking to Salty on that. After court, I will buy the tacos. After court? I'll see you in court. That's funny. You guys silly. So let's talk about changes and Schneider and someone, I think it was Robert, that posted an article on my last night's video. And it was an interesting article, but it kind of goes with what I was saying. A lot of people are like, Steve, you didn't finish your thought about what Schneider's doing. And so let's talk about Schneider for a minute. No, I'm not going back to Schneider. It's not a deal. But I will say, Schneider has always been a forward-thinking company, and Jeff will back me up on this. They're one of the first ones to do the choose your own freight. Now, Landstar was doing it in a limited capacity at the time. So Schneider kind of changed their platform a little bit, but I mean, I'm sorry, Landstar, but Schneider, what they did is they like, hey, you know what? You can choose where you want to go. Here's your choices. Now, people are like, well, you know, my company gives me a choice of like 5 or 6. You know, I have the right to turn them down. That's not truly what the choice is. You have a choice of whether you work or not in that capacity, but Schneider had to choose your own freight. And then they had a very mobile friendly app or website, actually. It wasn't really an app at the time. It was a website where you can click on the load. No haggling, no negotiating. They offered something that Landstar couldn't. And then they had a stronger dry van trailer pool, whereas Landstar was more geared towards specialized heavy haul, hazmat, pharmaceutical, where Schneider is like generic dry van freight. You need a load of mulch, you need a load of water, you need a load of pallets. We're the people, you know. And their trailer tracking devices that they can give the customers was ahead of the game. You know, kind of like, you know, when you order a package from Amazon or UPS or something, you have a tracking link, right? Well, Schneider was one of the first mega carriers to offer that. Like, hey, you want to know where your trailer pallets are? Here you go. Here's tracking. We have, you know, they were always ahead of the curve, right? They were always ahead of the curve. And so when they started making preparations around what was going on in California, that was a clue that things were about to go down in California as far as AB5 goes. And that's been the subject of the week, I guess. I saw an article with the POS said that we will be back to normalcy this summer due to vaccines. Yes and no, Daniel. I think that, and we're going to jump around because I'm behind on comments now, but I think that it's raining. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I think that to go back to normalcy up here, that's going to be a problem because a lot of people are still paranoid. I'm still I saw a couple yesterday in their truck with their masks on, and people are still afraid. People are still very fearful. You know, I have family members that got the vaccine that are like super excited and thinking that it's going to be a cure-all, and it's not. You know, it's not. So, not the cure-all that you think it will be. No, I'm not doing a 12-hour live feed, Trick for Life. Absolutely not. I will watch that video, Great Freight Stage Logic. Eric's got some good stuff. He's really upped his game on his channel. His sub count went up since he was on Asia My Show. So definitely check him out. The Scribe, good morning. Let's buy your coffee. Thank you. You think we've seen the worst of the vaccine yet? I don't know. I'm not talking about the vaccine because YouTube is deleting a lot of videos if you put out any kind of false information or whatever. So we aren't touching that subject. Free truck wash. My truck needs it. I mean, the back of my trailer is so dirty. I did run through some salt. Right after the big polar event that we had, but it was residual. I didn't drive in any snow at all, so but anyways, back to Schneider, because I'm wearing their shirt, and Team Orange and all that. Now look, Schneider has always been ahead of the game in predicting which direction. And so there's an article on Freight Waves where, you know, the video with the CEO, and he was talking about how much forward thinking that they do since the beginning, you know, since the days of, you know, truckers versus train people. And so when it comes to how do you react to the possible laws of the PRO Act, which is the AB5 on a nationwide level, look at what the mega carriers are doing. Look at the people that are in the know, that have stockholders, that how are they preparing? How are they changing their structure? You know, Schneider changed the structure of how a lease purchase should happen, right? And I remember when I was in orientation, they talked about the FedEx thing. They were very careful of their wording in their contract and how they labeled the owner operators, right? I was a true owner operator over there, and that's not meant as an insult. It's just I literally owned my own truck going over there, whereas their lease operators, you know, that's why you're given the freedom to do it, to go where you want. You know, it's an illusion of freedom though, because it's going to cost you money to move that truck. But you have that choice, and therefore that choice makes you an owner operator. That choice in the lingo gives you more freedom than, say, a lease operator at another company, right? You know, most companies out there, if you want to move, like for example, KLM, we'll use them as an example. You do a lease purchase on a truck. It's a decent rate. It's not bad. It's comes out to about $150 for the truck after the 5 years, but you're not allowed to move it. You're not allowed to, unless you buy it out, you're not allowed to take that truck anywhere else. And so Schneider saw the issues with that on a legal standpoint and said, you know what? You know, you can take your truck wherever you want. If we fire you, you can keep your truck. That was the deal. I know a couple of Schneider finance guys that were fired from Schneider because they dropped a trailer, or they didn't report a fender bender or something like that, and they ended up keeping their truck and going somewhere else. There's no other company that'll do that. Most companies, there's a scam out there where when you're close to paying that truck off, they fire you, and you don't have the option to buy out the truck, and all the equity that you've put into that truck is gone. So, you know, there's a lot of shady lease deals. If you leave, you can't buy out the truck. You know, I have a friend that was like 6 months from paying his truck off. He got fired for something stupid. I think it's because he didn't want to drive in the snow. Boom. You're out of here. And by the way, the equity in your truck, gone. You don't get any of it. There's an infamous video of a guy with a car hauler who, they were coming to repossess the truck. He lost all the equity in that truck, all of it. So, you know, and some of these lease payments are so high that it's hard to buy out the truck because you're upside down for quite a while. So, I mean, you know, but that's a whole different topic for a whole different day for somebody else that knows way more, because I never put myself in that position. This new change at Schneider is not going to be good. The contract shifts the power for the ICs to Schneider. Look, Chucky, here's my opinion. This is just an opinion. This is, you know, again, I haven't been at Schneider for 3 years. This is my opinion on that new contract from what I've learned from other people. Is because that's what we do on YouTube. We assume things based on what other people say. So I'm going to do the same thing because, you know, I'm a hypocrite. But Schneider is shifting to their owner operators. Notice they don't call you guys independent contractors anymore. They're shifting the illusion of freedom. And by saying that this is not 65% anymore, now they're not bound to give you a certain percentage. In other words, if they book a load off the spot market, which they do, and that load's paying a ridiculous amount of money, they're entitled to give you 65%. Well, you never really see big, huge money ball, like not money ball, but like big, huge home run loads on Snyder. Every now and then you'll see one around a holiday, but nothing like ridiculous what we're dealing with now. And so Snyder, being smart as they are, they said, you know what? The spot market is going to be on fire. And so if we start booking that stuff, we have to give 65%, or we have to give 65% of that to the contractor, and we want a piece of that. We want a little bit more than that. So instead of remember everybody assumed that Snyder wasn't taking, was taking more than the 35%, but you couldn't prove it or anything. Now they fixed it to where we don't have to prove it. You get what we feel that you deserve. And that's the part I have the problem with. I used to think that Snyder was a backup plan, a good backup plan if I needed it. But that would be a complete, I don't think I'd be a happy person to do that, because I actually enjoy being in the spot market. I enjoy the freedom. Spectre and James Best talked about, don't be afraid of the freedom you're about to receive. That's a good saying. That's a good saying that you can have coming over here. But now I wouldn't, because anybody who says you're going to get what we feel that you deserve, we set the rate, and it's a variable rate. You might as well be in the spot market at that point, because you're at the mercy of the broker. If you can negotiate more, you can negotiate more. If you can't negotiate more, then that's on you. But at least every time I negotiate a load, I know exactly what revenue I'm going to get before fuel. If I book a load for 1,000, I'm getting 800. And I think that is also a perception thing, because there's a lot of mental, when it comes to manipulating the masses, you got to do a lot of mental work, right? And so, how many of you people, you guys that are signed on with somebody, whether it be Schneider, a small carrier like trucking or something like that, how many of you people feel that you're giving, like, for example, 80%, we're 80-20, right? How many people think that you're giving 20%, and that's in your head? And some people will calculate it as a cost, right? Like, I give Jeff 20%, that's a cost, and that comes out to X amount cents per mile. No, that's not how you do that. At Schneider, when you did a load for $600, that was your to the truck number. They didn't even give you the 100% number, because they didn't want you seeing that 100% number, because they didn't want it to get it in your head that you're giving up 35%. And so there's a word play and a mind trick there, right? I don't give Jeff 20%. I get 80% of the revenue that load pays. It's not a cost. It's just what I get. What goes to the truck. Okay. And I could sit there and say, well, I want 100% and get my own authority. Yes, you will get 100%, but then your cost per mile goes up. Your costs per day, per month, your cost per operation goes up. Because out of that 20%, there's a net aspect. There's a gross and a net, right? But in the end, everybody gets a piece of your pie. You can sit there and say, well, the fuel companies get X amount percent. I mean, so it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. How you look at it is your own prerogative, but companies like Schneider don't want you to think about that, and I can't tell you how many times that bit them in the butt, because a lot of guys would like, well, I'm going to go to Landstar. So they go on the demo load board and they talk to drivers. Yeah, man, this load paid $3,000. No, it didn't. You got 65% of 3,000. And then when you look at that rate per mile, it's not much different than Schneider. When it came to generic dry-van, now heavy haul and everything else is different. The biggest difference between Schneider and Landstar on the dry van aspect is you get a lot more long haul. Like if you like coast to coast, Landstar's your gig. If you want to run regional short haul, 200-300 mile loads, Schneider's your gig. Also depends on the area that you live in. RD, I'm going to do that every time you do that, RD. Lug nut, we'll just do hand signals for the next 5 minutes. You have to look at it like, what services am I getting for that 20%? Right. And look, I don't negate the power of having your own authority. Trust me. And there are some carriers that break everything down, and you're paying for a lot of the stuff anyways. It just depends on how much you want to deal with. It just depends on what level. There are people that are contracted to another company, like, for example, in like plumbing, right? I'm an independent contractor for a plumbing company. That plumbing company gives me a cut of what I make. If you're a taxi cab driver, you get a cut of what that car makes. It's no different. You can either be a cab driver for that cab company, or you can be the cab company. But then now you're dealing with the insurance and everything else. So it's a different level. It's a different level. So, but it's all in your head. When I do my numbers, I do look at the 100% number. But it's not in my head as far as like, it's more or less a gauge of what the market's doing. So if the average is, if everybody's averaging $1,000 a day, that's 800 to me, and my costs are 300 a day, I'm doing pretty good. I'll gauge it like that. But I'm not going to ask for 800 a day if everybody's making 1,000, before the cut. So Josh the vegan, how's it going? Be very careful. James Best went on a very interesting subject yesterday of cannibalism and how people that eat nothing but vegetables are probably tastier. So just be aware. Even though I will always know you are. That's funny. Sign language. So I'm in a better mood than I was yesterday. I'm gonna probably run in the store here, get a couple of things. Probably gonna finish the week out doing this stuff, and then probably go home for a minute. Dice Man going live. What's up? Sounds like he's pushing sleep apnea testing mandatory. Yeah, the problem I have, look, I have sleep apnea, hence the name, right? I sleep with the CPAP machine. It was not given to me by Schneider. It was not given to me by a company. I had sleep apnea before I was a truck driver. I had sleep apnea before I was overweight. It's a structure of the throat, right? And the part about the whole sleep apnea mandatory thing, and this is what the government's been really good about. Let's inflict a mandate that costs more to the peasant. In other words, if the government wants to pay for the sleep apnea testing, by all means. But no, if you don't have insurance, that could be anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 bill. That becomes a hardship for some people, for a lot of people, actually. And it also creates a legal loophole that if you have a wreck and you have the evidence of sleep apnea without getting it treated or tested, guess what? That lawsuit's on you. And so I go back to how Martin approached it. Martin said, hey, if you come over here, we'll test you for free. We'll give you the machine for free. You get everything for free if you need it, because they would rather have their drivers not be falling asleep at the wheel, because that's the biggest danger with sleep apnea, than to deal with the liability. And they're not out there trying to make a buck off the driver by, charging them for the sleep test and charging them. Now, I don't know if Martin's still set up like that, but I do know that they were kind of ahead of the curve. Again, another mega carrier ahead of the curve on dealing with that. What I don't agree with is how Schneider does it. Schneider doesn't do it in a lab. They don't do it in a controlled environment. They give you a machine at a hotel and just say, well, we'll see what this machine says, and that is not good. So me being proactive, saw the writings on the wall when it came to the sleep apnea stuff, knowing I had that. I decided to make measures to where I controlled the situation. I went to the sleep lab I wanted to. I got the machine that I wanted to. And, it doesn't matter what carrier I'm at, as long as I've got that machine and that's good for them, that's good for them. So I was proactive. Look, it's kind of the theme today. Is if you're proactive and looking, I was chastised one time by a couple of people about looking at trends, okay? Looking at the past of what's happened in the past. And if you really want to get a handle on the game that you're playing, if you're going to play the Super Bowl against a certain team, you're not just going to show up and hope for the best. You're going to analyze how they played other teams. You're going to analyze their strategies. You're going to analyze their record. You're going to analyze what they tend to do, what they, the trends, and you can make strategic adjustments because of those trends. That's why I pay attention to trends. That's why I have notebooks telling me what happens when and where. There's these loads kind of coming out of Bolivar, Missouri. I know exactly what those are because every year these come out at a certain time because of that product. And I know that they usually pay good, and I know that they're light loads, and plastic flowers are a thing for Memorial Day. So that becomes a moneymaker for me. Sometimes, sometimes one broker will get a hold of it that they're not paying, or they got some small carrier to come in and take it all. But for the most part, paying attention to trends is how you can remain proactive and not blindsided by anything that might come down that might affect your business. That's how it works. But also how they changed it made it possible for them to lower rates in areas that they may not want the ICs. Now they have the control. For me, it undercuts the whole program. Yeah, Chucky, but they've given you the perception, the illusion of freedom, and now it's just a little bit less. They're hiding it a little bit less, and so what they're doing is they're eliminating the loopholes of a low board that they've been controlling since day one. You just didn't know it. In other words, The control factor that they have now, they've always had that. They're just changing the wording and structuring on how it's done, so they can't come back and get sued. That's why they did that. Great Fates. Yep. Eric, don't get near James Best. It's a good thing you live up there in the middle of nowhere. Don't forget to grab the Cheerios. Cheerios are bad for you. RN, I agree with you. If that's the only thing I don't like about the machine is if I'm showing compliance. Now, what sucks is if I decide to go camping somewhere, or if I decide to go to a hotel, go out of town or whatever, I have to bring that machine with me because I have to show compliance. I have to show so many hours per night so I can get my 1-year card. But I do wish that they allowed a 2-year card. Fish Assist 23. Morning Viking. What's up? Sleep apnea can damage your heart. It's good to find out early so it can be treated. Right. If you truly have sleep apnea, it needs to be treated. If you're the kind of guy that's falling asleep at the wheel all the time or getting sleepy, that's a problem. Trust me. Is it a pain in the butt to have this thing over my face every night? Absolutely. But I like being not tired. I like, and it helped with the weight loss, and people are like, well, Steve, if you lost enough weight, can you go back to not using the machine? I'm like, I don't know, because I had sleep apnea. I did have an operation on my throat that was supposed to help that, but I would have to get retested. And then that test would have to be, because I know my BMI is still, even though I've lost a lot of weight, my BMI is still up there in the zone that they want to test you at. So I don't even mess with it. TJ Jones. Everybody's in their hand signals. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Absolutely. Big Houston, what's up? Oh, grind that gear, Mr. Dummy 9. Need a refill. We're going to shut this VPU off. So being proactive and looking ahead to what's coming down the line, that's how you survive. That's how you survive. And that's what these mega carriers do. So if you want to see how they're going to handle the ProAct, just see what they're doing. If you want to see, look at how they structure things. Look at what their stockholders want. Look at how the industry is shifting. And the industry has shifted. Everybody's like, oh, the trucking is not like it used to be. Well, that's true. Business is done differently. Business manipulation now. It's not about running a trucking company. It's about how to manipulate the numbers. And that's what the mega carriers are good at. Let's manipulate the numbers in our favor. Oh, by the way, we'll move freight too. Yeah, we'll do that too. So. Thor and Thunder Trucking, what's up? Ever since I got a CPAP, I've never slept better. Same here. Same here, RN. Because I can tell you some stories, but we won't. So, because I don't talk about everything on the YouTubes. Schneider controlled the rate. The contract is with Schneider National 65%. Schneider Logistics owns the freight, and they broker it to Schneider at whatever rate they want. And people have figured that out, Jeff, right? And so the restructuring of the contract, the restructuring of the program allows them to manipulate the low board as they always have. But now you can't, you're not giving me, there are people that were actually going to sue Schneider for not giving them the 65%, And so everybody argues. Everybody's stuck on numbers. Everybody's stuck on percentages. So, there were videos out there, you're only getting 51% of the revenue, whatever, doesn't matter. Schneider controls that low board. Schneider controls their freight. You run Schneider freight. You are at their mercy. They're just taking out the legal loopholes of their manipulation and make it sound like it's better for you because, hey, the spot market's up. So instead of losing all of our drivers to the spot market, we're going to offer you spot market rates if and when we can achieve them, right? And so that's part of it too. There's no major change that happens in a company that benefits the driver. That's an illusion. That's an illusion. And the problem is there's so many companies now, not just in trucking, but in general, in politicians as well, that don't bother hiding it anymore. You know what? This is what this is about. Take it or leave it. Yeah, I know I'm a butthead, so what of it? What are you going to do about it? I'm powerful enough, you can't do anything about it. And so that's kind of the world we live in right now. Business manipulation is how you succeed at business. You know, you can put out the best. Look, here's a reality. You can put out the best product, the best service, but unless you get awesome reviews on Google, unless you can manipulate the analytics and put your name out there in every YouTube or Google ad or Facebook post, unless you can manipulate social media and manipulate the numbers and manipulate the analytics, you can't get out there. You can have the best service, the best product, but if your message can't get out there, it does you no good. But then some of the worst companies in the world are in everybody's heads, in everybody's feeds, on all the billboards. And so you think, well, they must be a good company. They're not. They're just good at the analytics. Same thing with the YouTube. There's 1,000 people, not as pretty as me, but doing the same thing as I'm doing right now. Just talking to you at a camera, that are making way more views, way better analytics, way more money. You know, I've seen some podcasts where the super chats have been in the thousands every night. You know, if you go watch Timcast IRL, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And it's being a master of the analytics. It's no longer about how good can you do business. It's how can you master the manipulation of business, manipulate the numbers. They hire people specifically to manipulate numbers. Well, if we go with this particular part that's 8 cents cheaper and we make 8 million parts, that's a lot of money. So let's go with that. Not realizing that part could affect their quality or make it harder for the guy on the assembly line putting that part on. You know, I've seen it over and over and over. That's how business is done. That's how businesses win, is by manipulating the numbers, you know. And I think there's an art of business that has been lost. You know, if you're a carrier, you know, carriers used to do things to keep you there with like longevity bonuses. I was with a carrier that was with longevity bonus, right? And they eliminated that. And then they wonder why their turnover went up. And so, you know, some carriers go as far as to punish the driver if they want to leave. You know, in other words, like these lease deals, you know, that's the whole idea. You can't move the truck, you can't buy it out, you lose all your equity, so you don't leave. To me, that's morally, that's wrong. Now, in a number pinching sense, yeah, it makes absolute complete sense. But as far as the how you treat, you know, how you treat employees, your contractors, whatever, that's what defines a company for me. And, you know, instead of like, let's make it hard for the driver to leave, let's give incentives that make them where they don't want to leave. Same thing with your employees. If you're an employer watching this, instead of making it hard for them to leave and think that, you're punishing them if they leave, how about you give incentives for them to stay where they don't want to, that they give you, loyalty is earned by how you treat people. That's it. And that art has been lost. It's very rare to find something where loyalty is still rewarded. And that's the part of business that really burns me out, is that loyalty is dwindling. And people are like, well, it's this new generation of workers, or it's just the mindset of people now. No, that mindset was created by employers not wanting to be companies worth being loyal to. That's the thing. Loyalty is can give you the best product, can give you the best service, and if you're in a pinch, if you're a business in a pinch, that loyalty can save you. And I've witnessed that firsthand when I was building boats. I witnessed that firsthand. Yes, I have 2 loads, Big Rig CEO. 2 loads. You're willing to pay for your own skull? Any suggestions? I would look at Crowder in Neosho, Missouri. RN. That's the one I would. The one that I went to is no longer around. But Crowder at one time was the cream of the crop when it came to trucking schools or CDL schools. You can't use the term trucking schools anymore because they don't teach how to be a trucker. They teach how to get your CDL. Charles got off your CPAP. That's cool. Now, Charles, did you have to retest so you can prove to the doctor you don't need a new test? Yeah, that's the other thing, Little Bike Coach. Make sure that you get your CDL with a manual so you don't have that restriction on your CDL. Looking good, Sage. Speaking truth about retention. So off topic, I've been with Omega for over a week for training. I've got 9% of my pre-trip, 100% all but the in-cab, and I've been behind the wheel once for 5 minutes. Yeah. It helps to get to know the family. It's all about quantity now. I worked for 16 years at the company I was at before I started trucking. Corporations no longer care. Obviously, I just started their CDL program. It's been a show. I've been here since the 3rd. I've been given 0 instruction out. Actually driving, I'm told I'm 100% responsible for a pre-trip. I had to retest. Look, the biggest challenge for me was the pre-trip because there's so many things that are thrown at you at once, right? Parts of the truck you didn't even know exist are now in your head, right? And so now I handle my pre-trip a lot better than the other CDL students in my class because I already had experience doing it from when I got my CDL driving a school bus. So the only thing I had to learn was the combination aspect, the airline, the connection, the trailer, and all that stuff. So while everybody else was dealing with those things, I upped my CDL by getting all the endorsements. I got my hazmat, I got my tanker, I got my doubles, triples, and so while everybody was just struggling to get the basics, I was already doing that because I already had my Class B CDL from a school bus, and that training was free. That was nice. I think the restriction automatic is the most important endorsement to have. I now have to get a sleep apnea test, which I've never even suffered any of the symptoms. Pneumatic Brit, yeah. I would, if you got good insurance, I would definitely go with a actual sleep lab, not Snyder's BS hotel room crap. Eddie Drotar, good morning. Lots of pre-trip videos. Watch them 1,000 times. Yes. Look, there are practice CDL tests online. There are lots of videos about pre-trips. Watching somebody else do it can help. And that's the thing about CDL school, RN, is that you gotta live, eat, and breathe this truck, right? You're probably looking at some piece of crap 1999 truck that's been beaten to death by all these newbies, and 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 you know some CDL schools are better about the driving part than others, but the bigger the class, the harder it is to get that time behind the wheel. So morning coffee thoughts are always full of wisdom and get your brain working. Well, I appreciate that. Dave's in the house. Good morning. Apex CDL Institute, says Pigtail. I was blessed with a good CDL school. I was blessed. Usually if they're through a carrier, they're not as good. That's an assumption though, so I hate to be an assumer, but I do know that you see the quality with the drivers. There you go. Pigtail just posted a link. If you can get to class 30 minutes early, go over the pre-trip before and after class, you will ace it, no problem. I was a mechanic before I was a truck driver, so they're thinking what's good they're trying to find versus what to find what's bad, right? RN, would it be good to balance? Look, you're there. You might as well go through it. Their job is to get you to pass your CDL. Some trucking schools can cost a lot of money, which is where these mega carriers have you. They either pay for it or, and you're under contract, or you got to go through the, it's CDL school always takes people by surprise because you don't get as much wheel time as you think you need. There's no such thing as one-on-one CDL instruction unless, I take it back, unless you're at Prime. Prime does one-on-one because they put you with the driver, and hopefully they put you with someone good that is out for your best well-being, not just to use you as a second logbook, because that's common too. The hardest part, getting your CDL is not the hard part, RN. The hardest part for me was training. Dealing with a stranger, and you're a new person, and hopefully, I think that the defining line of what makes a person stay in trucking after CDL school is having a good trainer. Because if you have a horrible trainer and you make a lot of mistakes, and you have a bad person that's not good with people, is not a good teacher, yells at you, treats you like a second-class citizen, more likely you're not going to stay in the industry. But if you go with a good trainer that's an old school, but very well-rounded, individual that's not out to just make a buck, they truly want you to learn the ins and outs of being a truck driver, then those people tend to succeed. I had a good trainer. He reminded me a lot of my dad. He was old school. A lot of these old school guys don't realize what the mindset of a CDL school, to deal with. And that's what made me a good trainer, is I could still understand what the person was going through CDL school. So that's what made me a good trainer. And I had patience. So if you could put up with some of my death metal playing going down the road, which was one of my little tests that I had just to see how annoyed I can get you, but I treated my trainees very well, and I made them think about things that other people may not think about, like for example, we'll be going down a 2-lane road, and I'll ask the driver, hey, We need, if we need to turn around because we went the wrong way, do you think we could turn around? And we passed a church parking lot. You think we could turn around in there? And they look at, oh yeah, that's pretty big. That's a perfect parking lot. I said, nope, you're wrong. Well, why do you say that? Because the entrance to the church is not big enough for the truck to swing in there. Number one, and number two, the church may not want you in there because their parking lot is not built for trucks. Now, in an emergency, you might have to do it, but that entrance is the big deal. Just because you got the square footage out there doesn't mean that you can make that entrance. Oh, I didn't think about that. Little things like that. That's what makes a good trainer. Think about all the worst case scenarios and help you mentally prepare, because you're going to come up on a 12-7 bridge. You're going to have to find a way to turn around on the 2-lane road. You might have to go 8 miles to the next Walmart to be able to turn around. And so the important part is I try to help people mentally. Don't hit the panic point. Don't hit the panic point. Once you hit the panic point, it's a wrap. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to screw up somebody. You could potentially hurt yourself or hurt somebody else. That's the part where I excelled, is I tried to help you through the panic point. And so, there was a trainee that I had that was trying to learn how to back into a tight spot. And it was around all the trailers at Transland. And this is kind of a Miyagi moment, right? So I had him set up to back into an impossible spot for a sleeper truck. One of the day cabs could probably do it, but sleeper truck, it was impossible. So he kept trying. I said, nope, you're gonna hit something. He kept trying, and finally he got out. He got angry with me. He's like, you need to tell me how to do this. I said he got mad. And if you're watching, I hope you're doing well, sir. But I said, what's the safest thing you can do right now? And he goes, quit. I'm like, no, don't be so negative. I said, the safest thing to do is you just don't do it. If you're at a customer and you can't make this maneuver, you go up to the customer and say, hey, I can't make that maneuver. There's no shame in that. And maybe they can get the yard guy to come in and do it for you, or maybe they'll give you a different spot. But if there's something that you can't do, you don't force the situation. He's like, oh. And that's a useful skill. I use that skill all the time. There's a door at the customer that I've been working at that I refuse to go in. I said, I'm not damaging my truck on that spot. Okay, go to this door. And that's just the way it is. It's like, you can either sit here and watch me struggle for about 30 minutes trying not to damage my truck, or I'm going to damage my truck, or you can just give me another door and we'll be out in and out like that. And because I'm a nice guy, I'm not an a-hole about it. They're happy to do it usually. And that's the safest thing. If there's something you think you can't do, don't do it. It's when you think you can do something, you can't do it, that's when you get in trouble. Southern Rider, morning y'all. I'm taking my 30 in Aberdeen, Maryland. It's been a minute since I was up there the year before last. Snyder will require a sleep apnea test based solely on measured neck size, even if you never show or experience any symptoms. That is true. Oaser DM. Snyder wanted me to use a company called PSS, which according to their reviews fail everyone, so I said no thank you, I'll find my own. There you go, Pneumatic Brit. There you go, being ahead of the curve. You looked at the reviews. It's probably a biased organization that's designed to make money off of giving you a positive. So yes, an independent study. There's no reason why they can't give you a 45-day card to give you the time to get that independent study done. RN, you're a prime. It's been a joke. Look, RN, you're going to have some time at the wheel. Trust me. Now, if you're in Springfield, holler at me on one of my instant messenger, like, I don't know if you got Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, and we'll hang out, because I'm in Springfield a lot. Pigtail said he only learns with past state tests. About 30% of what I need to go OTR. Look, the CDL school's job is not to teach you how to be a truck driver. They're designed to only teach you how to pass your CDL test, because not everybody that goes to CDL school becomes an over-the-road truck driver. In my class, there was a guy that had a farm that wanted to drive his own trucks instead of hiring somebody to do it. There was another person that was going straight to Coca-Cola, being a local delivery driver. There was a person that went local FedEx. So the CDL schools are not designed to show you how to be a truck driver. The trainer that the company puts you with, that's OTR, that's the guy that's supposed to teach you how to survive in the trucking world. And a lot of them fall short of that, unfortunately. My wife took a 10-week class at our local technical college, much better than those fly-by-night so-called schools. Southern Rider, I would agree. Team Tiny Trucking. Where do your dog? Yeah. What skill? Knowing when not to do something stupid, right? The guy who taught me how to drive a heavy wrecker would knock the shifter out of the gear and laugh while I struggled to get it back in. I did that on my own CDL test. I grinded the first gear coming out of the parking lot. Team Tiny Schneider will charge you for the sleep apnea. Now $650 is actually a decent price. I paid $750 for mine, but they're normally, that was half price. Normally they're like $1,500 for a ResMed. YRC is opening a bunch of schools, right? YRC getting a big pension bailout in the COVID bill, right? Look, that's another mega carrier seeing what's coming down the line. There's going to be a shift in our industry. Can our industry be destroyed? Absolutely not. It can't be destroyed. We run the country. However, shifting of regulation, shifting of how business is done is happening. It's happening now. It's been happening for the 10 years I've been out here. And all you can do is be proactive and stay ahead of the curve. If you're like all these drivers, I'm just going to get a glider kit and not deal with the DPF issues. Well, guess what? That's a lot more costly and that's a lot harder to do now. So to me, being proactive is like, let's find the truck with the best DPF system and create a situation where that won't affect my business versus hoping I can get a glider and hope that truck stays together. You can't. Okay, here it comes. I told my friend I was going to rip this off. Hope is a terrible business plan. Hope is a terrible business plan. I'm throwing stuff. Got my CDL test in 1988. If I would get it now, I would probably fail. Just touch. Paul Wibbles, morning, happy. It is Friday, isn't it? I wasn't even paying attention. So, any other comments, questions, or concerns? We're about an hour. Hour's my limit. I am not the marathon dude like James Beth. I still got coffee, but I'm just gonna. Sometimes you just gotta enjoy your coffee in silence. Just like the APU's off. There's nobody idling near me, and it's just like enjoy the silence. And soon summer will be upon us, where you open your windows to get the fresh air, and you get a big whiff of urine from the parking lot. That is not pleasant, by the way. Besides, I need to walk in this store and grab a couple of things. No comments, questions, or concerns? Smooth Truck says, I heard you're going to drive for James Best. That's funny. James Best is a swell guy. But I'm happy where I'm at. Look, I ran into James' best driver last week, and he's a good dude, man. He's a nice guy. We exchanged numbers, and he and I were running the same loads, and he's out of the game this week because James has to get his truck repaired. Jeez, but no, he seemed pretty happy. He wasn't like bad mouthing James behind his back or nothing. Nomadic Brick, always a pleasure listening to you. Thank you. Comment the wool sucks. Thomas Wilson, you are late to the game. You missed all of it. I'm wearing your favorite shirt. Wearing the favorite Schneider shirt. I got a mega carrier here and a small carrier here. Yet I don't have any like trucking hats or shirts or nothing. So thank you for taking the time to answer the question. RN, if you can get a hold of me privately, you can email me at I'm trying to remember my email here. I'll put it in the chat. I'm a slow typer. You ever watch a teenager type? They're like, wow, I'm an idiot. I think this is my email. It's in the description. I say I think. I'm kind of an idiot, so there's that. I think that's my email. Oh. Old fat white guy says, message retracted. I'm wearing a Schneider skull cap. It's like we're brothers in arms. It's funny, Team Tiny. I got my orange Schneider winter cap. But it's mainly a prop in the windshield for the GPS is what it is. Have a good day, Snorelord. Thank you. Best part of OTJB Live was hour 16 when he realized he forgot to do payroll. He was too busy talking about cannibalism and hell on earth and hunting people. Call service sucks here. Dutch, that's funny. Yeah, hit me up on Facebook. Okay, cool deal. I think I saw it flash through, so I try to help as many people as I can. Look, I'm not the smartest person out here. There's a lot of improvements that I need to make on myself. I think that's the most important aspect is realizing what your own faults are and recognizing that and changing that. I try to keep my ego in check. I try to not assume too much. I try not to make blanket statements. I try not to use the word should or you should or any of that because everybody's different and there's a million ways to do this business and they all work and none of them work. It just depends. What works for me may not work for you. And it just comes back to basics. You do need to recognize trends. If you're worried about what the PRO Act is going to do, educate yourself on what the PRO Act is going to do and how other companies are handling the what ifs. You want to know how, like for example, Walmart. How does Walmart handle the what ifs that are coming down the line? What do they do? What's YRC doing? How's Schneider going to handle it? Schneider has always been proactive on making sure that new regulations and new things coming down the line from the government affect them minimally. The smart carriers were the ones that went to e-logs early because they saw that was going to happen. And so if you're the carrier that switched to e-logs like the last day at the very last minute, now you had a learning curve that the mega carriers and other people that had e-logs already developed. They already said, you know what, we've got this. That was one of the best aspects of working at Transland, is we were one of the first companies to go on e-logs through the Qualcomm, and so by the time the mandate happened, it was just another day for us, because we've already adjusted our business, we've already adjusted our driving habits, and so what did TA Petro do? You know what? With these e-log mandates, that's going to force people to have to try to find parking at 11, 12 o'clock at night. So what did they do? They start charging for parking. They saw what was coming down the line and capitalized on it. That's the key. That's the key to business now, is capitalizing on the changes that are coming. And in order to do that, like even the stock market, in order to make money in the stock market, how do you do that? By looking at trends, looking at seeing what these things have done in the past, and trying to predict the future. Well, how do you predict the future? Well, by looking at what's going on now. You want to know what your future is going to be like? If you have an unhealthy habit, that's what your future is going to look like. If you smoke, if you overeat or eat the wrong foods, you can predict your own future. That's going to affect you. You always hear the story of the 90-year-old grandfather that smoked cigars since he was 18. That happens, but it's rare, right? And so you either make steps. My dad was very proactive and got cancer insurance. And so when he was going through his chemo and everything else, it did not bankrupt my family or his family. It did not bankrupt my mother. She didn't have to sell everything off, because he was proactive, because he was a cigarette smoker, and he knew that this was coming down the line. That's what I'm talking about. That's how you survive in business. That's how you survive in life. That's the whole purpose of weather forecasting, is so you can see what's coming down the line to prepare for it. So you don't want to be the guy without an umbrella in the rain. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys coming in. I appreciate the super chats. And let's try not to judge each other. Let's just help each other out. Let's build each other up instead of tearing each other down, because there's a big club out there and we aren't invited. So we got to stick to ourselves. So you guys take it easy, and peace.